Mr. White.
Good morning, Mrs. Angel. How are you today?
I am fantastic. And gee, you're sounding good, aren't you?
We've worked a few little technical issues out. And
Let's kick straight off with saying big thank you to Video Pro.
Thanks, Video Pro.
For providing us with some great audio visual equipment. And I guess probably Video Pro have had issues always working with schools, and then they call and they say this isn't working, and then they go, I think that might be a user issue. So definitely on this occasion, we've just established there was definitely a user issue on this occasion. Is that right, Mr. White?
It could be argued that it was a user issue. Yes, I think that's probably fair. You might have noticed the last few episodes I've been a bit quiet, a little bit muffled, if you will. And we have unearthed the reason for that, rectified it, and now let's move on, shall we?
What does it look like? Show anybody who's with us on YouTube right now. It looks like. How would you explain that thing in your hand?
This is a block of foam, obviously used in transport to protect the valuable equipment that I didn't realise had to be removed from in front of the microphone and behind the what do you call it, a mic guard or whatever it is. Yes. Yeah. So no, you live and learn, and as soon as I took it out, the everything changed, and here we are.
I can hear you. So it was definitely a muffling device. So if anybody is looking to muffle something, then just give Mr. White a call, and he has the perfect device.
I do.
To make you sound a bit more muffled.
Yes, muffled.
Definitely nothing to do with Video Pro and the equipment that they have sent to us. So
it was all me. It was all me. Shout out to the IT department at my school as well. I've been having to field calls from me. We get there in the end.
Excellent. Exactly right. I mean, you're just helping them to earn their money every day.
That's right. Making them feel needed.
Yep. All right. It is wonderful to be here, and I would love to say hello to all of the teachers who are tuning in around the world. We know that we have tapped into a lot of different countries, and most certainly in Australia. We know in the UK and in America, big fans of Teachers Change Lives podcast, and we've got 2 new countries who have come on board.
Ooh, who are they? Spain back?
No, we're not talking about Spain. Spain's
Miguel.
Just they're on the way, but just not here just yet.
Okay.
But what about our friends just across the ditch?
Across the ditch.
Just across the ditch from us over in New Zealand. They have joined the party, and we would love to say hello, and we hope that your chili buns are cooled and your jandals are on.
and your jabba bars aren't too heavy or aren't too bumpy. So they're cool. Good to have you on board.
So good to have our New Zealand listeners around. And we've also like to welcome Singapore to the party.
Fantastic.
And very excited to have Singapore on board, and hello to you over there. I've been to your beautiful, clean country and have visited some of the amazing schools in Singapore, and I have marveled at the education system that has been created over there. So it's so great to have New Zealand and Singapore on board.
Yes, lots of international schools as well over there. Quite a few people who've worked in them. Very, very jealous of them in holiday time because they just jump on a plane for $50 and end up pretty much anywhere they want in Southeast Asia.
Exactly. So we obviously, this podcast is all about celebrating teachers, celebrating the profession, talking about the profession, keeping people in the profession. There's been a lot of media in the last few years, a lot in Australia just recently about the teaching profession. I know that our Federal Minister for Education, Jason Clare, there's been a lot of media just recently about what their big plan is to be attracting more teachers to the profession. And there's been a bit of media in Victoria recently. Is that right?
Yeah, there has. There was an article in the paper the other day down in Melbourne about a couple of teachers and the diary entries that they had about their day. And some of that reading was quite disturbing. Basically outlined how busy the day was and how little time in fact, no time for toilet breaks or to get something to eat. And that's just absolutely not on. It's absolutely not on. We're trying to turn that around. So if you are going through that, I mean, sometimes this happens. I mean, you get a day here and there, a couple of term maybe, where you are just bumper to bumper all day. And there's no real way around that because you want to be there for the students. And sometimes, the days fill up very, very quickly and you sort of overbook yourself and you realize, you don't have time to grab that sandwich. Or whatever. But if this is something that's happening to you regularly, strongly encourage you to sing out about it. You've got to talk to someone because that should not be the case. If we've got to fight against that. If you don't get the answer that you want from your immediate line manager, go beyond, go even higher, and get to someone who actually understands the issue and can do something about it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That is not going to be best for student learning. So if the student, if that's at the heart of everything that we do, I know that I have definitely, probably by my own design, created lessons in the, created days in the last few years where I have booked my calendar up and 15-minute meetings back to back, and then I've have underestimated how long something might take me. So that's really been by my own design, and then I need to adjust really quickly because I know that I'm not my best self when I haven't had some little periods of time throughout the day for myself to kind of regroup and then go into my next meeting or my next lesson the best version of myself. So I would think that I know that schools are not doing that purposefully by design. And if you have found in your timetable that this is happening regularly and is by design, that is absolutely not on. And like Whitey said, you have to reach out to somebody, reach out to your direct line manager, and absolutely go beyond that if that is necessary. And
absolutely. Sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I was just going to say one of the best pieces of advice that I got when I first became a parent was you've got to look after yourself. You've got to eat well, you've got to exercise, you've got to sleep well, you've got to do what you can to have yourself in 100% condition so that you can be the parents that you want to be. It's the same thing with teaching. You've got to look after yourself. I mean, this is why we get the breaks at the end of the term, and that people don't understand what they're there for. They're actually there to decompress, and they're there to do all the things that you can't do during the term as a teacher. Go to the dentist, go to the doctor, all those sorts of things, the maintenance sort of stuff. But also, I mean, Shez, how often do you get ill, or did you get ill at the start of a term holiday?
At the start of a holiday?
The start of a holiday.
Every time.
Yep.
And it is amazing what you can do, what a teacher can do to keep it together, to keep their body together for that school term. And then somehow your body knows, okay, it's that kind of pressure valve has been released, and now I can deal with that slight bit of tooth pain, that slight this or that. And I get a cold at the start of every single term break.
Yes.
So which is really just my body recovering from what has been very intense. And a non-teacher just can't understand that. No. I'm fine with my non-teacher friends celebrating, not celebrating, or teachers get so many holidays. They're not doing it. They can really acknowledge that they're not doing it for a reason. So that's and we are, I guess. And so in my school recently, our last episode, we talked about the forming, storming. I was saying conforming. The word is actually norming. So it goes forming, storming, norming,
right.
Performing, and then there's actually one on the end, which is adjourning, which is what we do. We help groups to, when they come to the end of a time together, so at the end of a grade 6, so junior school leading into high school, and also at the end of a grade 12, so when they finish school. So we do adjourning events where we have a formal, where we have a prom, where we have a graduation ceremony, so that we can kind of tie off those loose ends. So definitely in my school, like there is in many, many schools around Australia right now, there was those first 3 weeks was the forming and storming stage. And we're coming out of that now, which is great. We're coming into that norming of those behaviors, which is great. But it's a difficult time for teachers, most certainly. And it's particularly a difficult time for beginning teachers who are just at the very early stages of their career, where they weren't expecting this. They didn't know that there was this storming stage. And is it something that I did? And is this normal? And so having to trying really hard to normalize that for them, that this is something that we just need to expect. This is something that we can work ahead of. Then we can embrace it, and then we can have some strategies to work around it. But I know just recently I worked with my staff using language around spiraling downwards. So spiraling down or spiraling up. And I know that certain staff rooms that I've been a part of in my career have been, I can remember quite a few that were a really positive place to be, where they were really uplifting. And I can remember a few that weren't a very positive place to be, and they really kind of pulled me down significantly. So I want my school to be a place that spirals up as opposed to spiraling down. So I shared with my staff this thing that I found on a website called Teach Thought, We Grow Teachers, and it had 30 reflection prompts for teacher wellbeing. So what I was encouraging my teachers to do was to look at these 30 reflection prompts so that they can consciously be reflecting on something positive that has been happening in either each day or each week, whatever they have the mental space for, but at the very least each week, so that we can reflect positively together. And we know that as teachers, often teachers are perfectionists, and perfectionists tend to focus on the negatives. And so when focusing on the negatives, verbalizing those negatives, then often misery likes company, and then we can be in a staff room all only focusing on those negatives that we really want to improve. But then if everybody's just sharing their negatives, we're all caught up in this kind of downward spiral. So with these reflection prompts, we want to start to kind of infiltrate that negative conversation with these great things that happen every day in the life of a teacher, but without actually taking a moment to actually have that conversation about the positive things, then we will just find ourselves spiraling down. And we need our teachers to consciously be spiraling up, because it is absolutely, it's a hard job. There's no ducking and weaving around it. Teaching is a really, really difficult job, but it is a phenomenal job. And it's the only job that creates all other professions. So it's such an impactful career to have. And every day you are absolutely changing a life. But if we don't mention it, if we don't talk about it consciously, we can just focus in on those negatives. What do you think about that?
I think that's exactly right. I think teachers want to get everything right, particularly early in the career. You get really, you want to prepare everything to the nth degree, which is great. You want everything to be sorted and ready to go. But at the end of the day, what you tend to remember is what went wrong. And you forget the 95% of the things that actually went really, really well. And you sort of do focus on the negative a lot. And that's, part of that is useful in that it's going to help you eliminate the weaknesses in your teaching practice, or you just get better. But it's really important to balance that with an acknowledgement and reflection on the things that went really well. Because, at the end of the day, we're people standing in front of young people. There are power things at play, but if you're prepared and you're willing to help, even when things do go wrong, there's positives to take out of that. And how you react to that is something that I have focused on recently. When things don't go well in the classroom, what do I do next to make this a positive experience? What do I make this to be a learning experience for everyone? And then I will reflect at the end. And that reflection is really, really important. I mean, we get our students to do it after assessment as well. And we do it at the end of every term, just in general. How are you going? How do you think the term went? That sort of thing. And we encourage them to put a positive spin on it, to say, okay, well, this is where I've come from and I'm here now. I've come a fair way. That's great. And I think we need to be better at that as teachers as well. So those questions
we've got to be conscious about it, because we can just get caught up in all of the stuff that didn't work. So we've got to actually siphon off a bit of time regularly to actually reflect on those highly impactful moments. It's not okay to just think about the things that you need to stop doing and the things that you need to start doing. It's really, really important that you think about the things that you need to keep doing that really make you want to stay in the profession.
Yeah, and the better teachers do take risks. The better teachers tend to take risks with things, and that risk doesn't always come off.
No.
But that doesn't mean you can't learn from it, try again in a different way.
Yeah.
It's got to be done.
I agree. So I want to put to you, Mr. White, so one of these 30 reflection prompts for teacher wellbeing, I want to put one of them to you today. So I want to find out from you, if nothing else, what is one thing that you want your students to take from their time with you?
One thing.
Nothing else, what is the one thing that you want your students to take from their time with you?
I think having a sense of wonder. I think wanting to know more about something, a sense of curiosity, and that's probably. Well, I teach geography and English, but I'm thinking more in terms of geography here. Just thinking about the world around them and wondering why things are the way they are. Why do we have the seasons? Why does the North Hemisphere have a opposite to the Southern Hemisphere in terms of the season? It's obviously a different level of learning and understanding, but just maintaining that curiosity all the way through to why does Japan have such an aging population, and what are they going to do about that? Just be interested and curious about the world around them, because I think it's very easy to get pigeonholed. It's really easy to create a smaller world for yourself through social media. I mean, we think that it actually expands your understanding. It actually doesn't. It actually narrows your understanding of the world around you. And so I really want students to think of me as a teacher that encourage them to be curious about the world in which they live. What do you reckon, Shaz? I'm going to throw that back at you. What's if nothing else, what's the one thing that you want your students to take away?
I think that the one thing that I want them to take away from their time with me is that I see them and that they are capable of so much more than what they think that they are. So the more I've learned about human nature is that we can get we're really critical of ourselves, and we will say no to things because we don't want to fail at it. And I think that the one thing that my students have taken from me is that I've challenged them to do more and be more. And then I'm good at pointing out that you thought that you weren't able to do that, and then you've just done it. So you are always. What else do you think you're not capable of? What's the next thing that you think that you didn't think that you can do that I reckon that you can do? So I think that that's been my little gift to my students along the way, and I'm trying to continue that with my current school and also with my current staff and my teachers, that they often don't realize just how brilliant that they absolutely are. So really want to point that out to them.
That's great. I love that. And you are very, very exceptionally good at that, Chaz. And it is something that is really, really valuable. Like just being seen and know that you are seen. It gives you something else to rise to. It's fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. Keep that up. That's great.
You too. It's so important to nurture that curiosity. So, and I'd love to hear from any of our listeners. What is the, if nothing else, what is one thing you want your students to take from their time with you? If you want to reach out to us, then you can do that by reaching out to us at our Gmail account, teacherschangelivespodcast@gmail, or on TikTok, or on Facebook, or on Instagram, or more importantly, again, reach out to your colleagues and maybe put that question to them and start this conversation in your staff room about what is that little gift that, if nothing else, what is that one thing that your students will take away from their time with you? I think that would be a really valuable question to be asking in staff rooms to help everybody be spiraling upwards rather than spiraling downwards. Would be So With that in mind, we started a new segment a couple of weeks ago called Magical Moments. So how about we have a listen to one of our teachers in Queensland, a magical moment that has been sent through.
Fantastic.
Let's do it.
Hi, my name is Dilara and I'm a senior HP and science teacher in Queensland. My magical moment would have to be seeing a particular student's progress with physical activity. Last year, this student never participated in HPE and would often leave early to avoid the lessons and embarrassing himself. In the short few weeks we've had so far this year, I've seen this student participating in HPE lessons and even eagerly asking me when his team would be playing again during games where the teams rotate. He even came to the swimming carnival and participated in one of the races. It's honestly so heartwarming to see how the students develop confidence with participating in physical activity.
Yeah, Dilara.
Absolutely.
Well done, you.
Absolutely. Sport's great for that, isn't it? It really is good to get students and just people involved and feel connected. And as I'm a head of house and I try to fill all the spots for house swimming, and that's really hard to do. And so for her to have gone through that and her students wanting to take part in house swimming, it's fantastic. What a turnaround. Brilliant.
That is very, and not always easy to do, actually. Often kids have got a very fixed mindset when it comes to PE. And I think my observation, having worked in both a junior school and a senior school, the older that students get, the more of a fixed mindset they have around what they are capable of physically or not. Yep. So it's so heartwarming to hear a HPE, so a health and physical education teacher, talking about this mindset shift for a student and being a part of that mindset shift for a student. So powerful. Once again, what else do you think, what else did you think that you didn't like and you were avoiding and now you're getting involved in and you're seeing those amazing benefits that come from that?
Absolutely.
Well done, Dilara, and thank you so much for sending that through. Keep up the good work in your HP classes. And obviously as a PE teacher by trade myself, your biggest cheerleader here, Dilara. So keep up the good work. All right. So let's, have you got a wisecrack for us, Mr. White?
Oh, look, I'll see what I can dig up.
All right. You have a think while I click this button. All right.
What is Weekly Wisecracks? What do you got, Mr. White?
It doesn't get old. It doesn't get old.
What do you have, Mr. White?
I love it. Geography teacher, as I've stated, and I was teaching some year 8s about landforms and landscapes. We were talking about the different biomes around the world. We're talking about tundra and forests, riverine areas, mountain areas, those sorts of things. And we're talking about deserts. And I asked the students, tell me something you know about a desert. And one of the students said, well, in a desert, it's really, really easy to die because if you don't have food or water, you're not going to get any from the desert. And I said, oh, that's pretty good, but it's actually not true. If you're in the desert, you could always eat the sandwiches there. It went straight over their heads too, Shaz. It's one of those gags you whip out just for yourself. You have a little chuckle and then you go on with the class.
Excellent. You don't pause for too long. You don't check your microphone. You're like, is this thing on? Come on, guys.
I said, sandwiches there.
Sandwiches. Sandwiches. Oh, that's good. That's good. But it's good, but it's bad. But
that's what we're after.
The number of times I am cracking jokes and then I'm doing the microphone tap. Just come on, guys. Come on the journey with me. That was brilliant. Oh, I love it. Love it. All right.
Let's go on that one.
Let's get into a teaching tale, hey?
Alrighty.
I have an absolute ripper for you today.
Brilliant.
Teaching tales. Dun, dun, dun.
The drama. All right. So this teaching tale is set in a high school. All right. So in Australia, a high school is in grade 7 to grade 12. So kind of grade 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And our students in Australia graduate in grade 12 and then can go on to work or further study. And so we often have student jerseys. So they have they get their name on the back of a jersey and that they can wear in grade 12 so that they kind of stand out as they are the seniors of the school. And in this particular school, they had a motto, and the motto was high expectations. So all of the students had chosen the name that was going on the back of the jerseys, and so that had been checked and double checked and making sure that that was going to be a good representation for the school. And then underneath that is the student name is the motto of high expectations. And when the jerseys arrive, that's a really exciting day, because the boxes have arrived and the kids, they're going to feel so proud of being able to put their jerseys on and wear them at school and wear them out in public. And really, it's a great kind of advertisement for the school. And at this particular school, the jerseys were handed out and the students were walking around the school, and everyone was delighted to see them, until this particular teacher who's sent this in to us has just had a bit of a closer look at that jersey. And they saw Smith was the student's last name. And then they saw high expectations.
Oh, no.
Just a slight little spelling error. Potentially somebody didn't have as quite high expectations of the person checking the spelling that needed to go in on expectations. They just lacked an extra C in there. So high expectation.
You can't talk your way out of that, can you? You can't say that was intended. There's nothing. No, I don't think you can. How did you demonstrate growth mindset then?
What they did they asked everyone, because obviously I had to ask this person. So then what was all of the students were asked to hand them in immediately. But the parents had all paid for these, so the kids were super excited. So then
it's a collector's item.
They took a Nico pen and just kind of rubbed out that extra C in there to make it look a bit closer to high expectations. And then the school, so they could continue to wear them. And then the school actually bore the cost of purchasing a new jersey for every one of those students, so that it could actually say Smith, high expectations.
Yes. Yes. As inspiring as high expectations is, I think high expectations probably
is probably, yes.
It's more in keeping with what we're after.
I think so. I feel like it is.
It's horrible getting those things where you're looking at everything, you quadruple checking everything.
You can't triple check your own work. You can't.
You can't.
And there's you've got all these kids in your cohort, and so what you're actually worried about is making sure that Sean Dixon has chosen the right thing to go on the back of his jersey.
That's right.
And so you haven't really looked at the high expectations because you're really worried about just making sure that you've got the right things on as far as the name is on the back of a jersey.
Oh boy, it's quite visible as well.
It really is. So thank you so much for sending through that teaching tale. That's great. And check your work, everybody. Get somebody to check your work.
Get someone to do it. Yes.
Yeah, somebody else has to check your work.
Yes.
And thank you to all of those amazing school staffers out there who are allowing and doing all of the organisation around jersey creation. It is a big job. It is a big job.
It's a huge job. How about the printer who got it, looked at it, goes, I wonder if this is really what they want, and thinking, well, I could probably get a double order out of this. I'll just print
let it slide, see if they notice
what it says.
I reckon there was there was some betting
It's
at
a
that
moment.
printer going,
I bet
is it
there's
going to be
moment.
a day? Is it going to be a week? Is it going to be a month before we hear from them? Well, it was definitely just a day, actually, because within the day it was good. Well, all right. So how can people get involved if they want to get involved with us, Whitey? What do they need to do?
Well, they can contact us on email, which is at the address of teacherschangelivespodcast@gmail.com. We're on all the socials as well, including Instagram.
We certainly are. Teachers
Twitter.
Change Lives podcast is on Instagram and on Facebook, Teachers Change Lives
Facebook.
podcast.
Yep.
Facebook, absolutely. And we're also on TikTok. I believe that is TCL pod _Shaz on the TikTok.
Well, that's right. That's the one you gave yourself the ego trip there. Yes.
I really did. I
Yes.
really did. But I'm glad that you're just letting it go, which is the most important part.
You just got to roll with the punches, don't you?
You do. So I believe we have been sent a review, and that's sitting in your messengers now. Have you been able to have a look at that? Any of our listeners, we would love to hear from you if you've got a wisecrack that you're using in class. If you have got a teaching tale, we would love you to send that through to us on any of those socials. And if you have got any of a magical moment, we would love a video or an audio clip to be sent through any of those magical moments that are happening in your classrooms every day. We know that they're happening, and we had a great one today from Delara. So what does that review have to say today?
This is great. This is from Beth. So love Teachers Change Lives. I was a university teacher for many years, and so love that Teachers Change Lives believes that we should spend time on the foundations of learning for our kids. So many of our students so wanted to achieve their dreams, but did not have the foundations to do well. Love that our best teachers understand how important it is to achieve at the foundation stage before they can achieve at higher levels. Thank you very much, Beth. That's great.
Awesome. So great to see that we're reaching out into the university sector as well, and the university sector doing such an amazing job with our initial teacher training.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's great. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Beth.
Wonderful.
All right. So next week we have a very exciting interview. Obviously, next week in Australia, we are leading into International Women's Day. And so I have invited on one of the most inspiring women that I have worked with. Her name is Toni Hatton-Roberts, and she will be sharing the amazing work that she has done. So I am very, very excited to be able to talk with Toni and really share Toni's story.
Looking forward to that.
The impact on student lives has been significant. I feel like you need to probably maybe just give a little bit of an apology again to Video Pro, and a little shout out to them.
Thank you,
Mr.
Video
White.
Pro. User error, absolutely. The tech cannot be faulted, but my understanding of it can.
And I'm sure that you're not the first teacher to say that. And there you go. He's holding up right now. There's the muffler. We could even say that was the muffler. A muffler. So Mr. White has got a beautiful voice, and I'm so glad that so many of our listeners can hear it now.
Much better.
And I don't sound quite as much of a foghorn when I'm on this podcast. All right. Well, as always, it's always good to talk with you, Mr. White. And
you too, Mr. Angel. Always a pleasure.
Have a wonderful week with your students. We are in Queensland. We are right at hump day. So tomorrow we're on the downhill slide to our holidays. It's exactly 5 weeks done and 5 weeks to go. Where are you at in your school term?
We're 4 weeks done and 5 weeks to go.
There you go. So to all the Queensland teachers out there, whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yes, and the Victorian teachers, woohoo too.
Hang in there. It'll be your moment next week, Victorian teachers, all right? All right. Well, have a great week, and we will see you all next week.
Have a good week, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Powered Riverside.